So yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on it because it will make the next person who's feeling it perhaps feel less alone.
You touched on a lot of really personal things in the book. What was there a toughest thing to touch on? Was there something you were kind of hesitant to go into?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote the book as a love letter, and I say that to my community, to my farm, to my husband. I think the book for me was a lot about copying to my own crap. I did have postpartum with my son. I didn't know I did because I was in the fog of it. But I wasn't fun to be around. And I was severely depressed after I had my first miscarriage and was in the fog of it and keeping myself busy with all these different activities. And I can look at it now and see how self-destructive I was. And so if someone can look at my narrative and say, oh God, I'm feeling that, or I have felt that, A, I'm not alone, but B, how do I get out of it? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on it because it will make the next person who's feeling it perhaps feel less alone.
Did you talk to Jeffrey beforehand, like, here's what I want to include? Or were you kind of like, hey, I'm done with this and this is what's happening? Because there is a lot of really emotional stuff about him as well.
He has been so supportive and knew that I sat down to write a book about the farm, and I think it was supposed to be a little bit cuter, and I just felt like a fraud. So he would see me staying up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just emotionally drained writing it. And he was so generous with his own privacy in allowing me to put this out there. Because it isn't just me, it's our story. And I can't thank him enough for letting me like process in this way. I talk in the book about how my family, our coping mechanism in my family is to take the bad stuff and turn it into a story, turn it into a narrative, and it helps you process. And a lot of therapists will tell you to do that. They're like, keep a journal, write it down. And so for me, the aspects of being a woman in the entertainment industry and having to deal with that, being a woman whose body betrayed her, having to deal with that, being a woman who isolated herself on a farm and had to learn how to actually like herself. That was hard. Yeah. And so the gift that he's given me is being able to put this out there and invade his personal bubble. He's a good man.
I really loved that people who have spoken out about miscarriages and struggles with fertility, we never really see like the male reaction side to it. And I thought it was so interesting that you talked a lot about how you guys handled it so differently. And at times it was really hard for you as a couple as well.
Truly. The false narrative that gets projected, especially by like the celebrity angle, is we went through this hard thing and it brought us closer together. And so I felt like a total failure because that wasn't happening for me, until you go through that first really horrible thing together. You don't know how your partner is going to react. You don't know what they need. And what he needed was for me to be communicative, and he needed me to be strong and calm about it, and like, let's process calmly. And I'm a bombastic person. I needed to slam doors and cry really hard and yowl. And so I feel like I read a book when it was given to me by my very good friend when I was going through all of it, and I had no idea the male perspective. And it was called Vessels, and it's written from the perspective of the husband. And that was such a good tool for me to be able to see his perspective. And it softened me in a way. And so if our book can soften someone else who's feeling bombastic, good,
Yeah, for sure.
There's no right or wrong way to process grief. And so if we can show how two very different sides eventually meet in the middle, okay.
Definitely. And I thought it was interesting that even just throughout the book, you guys, you talk about how you guys met and how you started dating and everything that happened. You were so, like, it didn't sugarcoat that, like, sometimes things sucked. Sometimes we disagreed a lot. Sometimes, I thought that was just so refreshing and something that we don't really hear from the celebrities that are like, we're in this really happy relationship and we love each other so much.
I'll tell you, so I had your job for 5 years. Like I was a VJ at TRL for 5 years, and I had to interview every celebrity couple, and they all gushed about how perfect their life was. And, you know, then things would go south, or, you know, like something bad would happen. And I didn't ever want to feed that machine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, you want to be earnest. I love my husband more than anybody. I think he's fantastic. I also think sometimes I'm really high strung and he'll leave his socks on the floor and that will make me insane. And perhaps that's what every wife or partner feels. Yeah. I set out to write a farming book, and I guess I wrote a book about marriage. I mean, marriage is a garden. You have to fertilize it to get rid of the weeds. There's gonna be weeds. You have to pull them.
For sure. You, in the beginning, you said that one thing that shocked me, and I literally took note of it right away, because you had said that you were surprised that he was into you and that it caught you off guard. Yeah,
for sure. For sure. I'm the loud girl. So like nobody ever asked me out. I had to be really like aggressive. Yet nobody ever asked me out. He was probably like the first dude that really like courted me. He like sent packages to my house and was really just like, we're going to be together. And it was charming and I loved it. And he's, I got like a thing of flowers today on the front porch. I was like, what am I getting flowers for? That's just Jeffrey Dean.